At 2025 at 6 p.m, and I declare this meeting open. The City of Swan acknowledges the traditional custodians of this region, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. And we pay our respects to elders past, present and their descendants. The terms and conditions of entry into this meeting are posted on the door just as you come in from the foyer, and please ensure that you've read them prior to attending this meeting and please abide by them. Attendance and apologies. We have council members in attendance. We have an apology from Councillor Oringo and Councillor Singh, who are, as I said, apologies tonight. Declarations of financial and proximity interests and interests affecting impartiality. I have one from Councillor Jones on item 15.2, which is the citizenship ceremonies of Midland Town Hall. Impartiality, as Councillor Jones's community choir sings at some of the citizenship ceremonies. So I'm just going to hand that one to the CEO. Thank you. And councillors, if anyone else has any declarations of financial and proximity interest, could you please fill out the form and just pass them up to the front. Apart from that, I have no other declarations submitted at this time. Part 5, which is public question time. Questions and answers are recorded in the minutes of the meeting, and they may be summarised in accordance with the Local Government Administration Regulations of 1996. All questions received for this meeting have been answered and responded to and have been included in the schedule. All questions will be published in the minutes of this meeting. 5.1, answers to questions which were taken on notice. We've had 2 questions taken on notice for Mr Humphrey Bogart, and these have been answered and they've been sent to Mr Bogart, and they will form part of the minutes of this meeting. So we move to 5.2. This is questions relating to reports contained in the agenda. 5.2.1, questions of which due notice has been given. We've not had any questions received by council. 5.2.2, which is questions without due notice for items in the agenda only. We have had Mr Ben Heppenstall registered to ask questions. And Mr Heppenstall, if you could please come up to the podium and just introduce yourself, and you're able to ask up to 5 questions. Thank you.
Sure. Hello, my name is Ben Heppenstall. I'm a small business owner. I own IGA Ellenbrook and IGA Stratton in the City of Swan. And my questions tonight are around the project plan for Swan Active in Ellenbrook. This development is crucial to our community and my business community at IGA in Ellenbrook. And my questions are broadly based around the time frame of the proposed works. So my first question is around the budget transparency. The major project plan for Swan Active Ellenbrook lists the total project cost as 105 million, yet the city's website state that the project will cost 120 million. With funding staged over several years, including 3.36 million allocated in the 24-25 budget, only 42 million has been secured through government grants. There remains a funding shortfall of between 60 and 75 million dollars. Can the city please explain how it intends to cover the significant funding gap, and what financial strategies or reserves are being considered to ensure the project can proceed on schedule to be open to the community in 2027?
I'll ask Mr CEO if you could respond.
Thank you, and thank you for your question. It's a little bit different to the ones I had a copy of, but I'll attempt to cover it off. So the city agrees that the Swan Active Ellenbrook facility is a much needed community facility, and you may be aware the city has issued a tender for construction of the facility, and this is currently in consideration at this time. The funding for the capital component is coming from a mix of reserve funds, grants, and will include some debt funding. Rate income does not go directly to the project, but when construction is complete, there will be an impact on rates as shown in the city's long-term financial plan. So the city's 2025-26 annual budget, which has been published on our website tonight, includes a budget update on the project as at the time of the pre-tender phase of procurement, and that's where we had the cost of the construction, 120 million. The budget papers will show that the current balance of the Strategic Project Reserve, which is the primary means of funding it, as at 1st of July has been increased to $55 million, which in addition to the grant funding of 42 provides $97 million of cash at this time. So the final mix of the project funding will depend on the tender selection and the final scope of the project, which is something council's yet to consider.
Sure, thank you for your reply. That answers my question 5. I'm not sure if you've got a copy of that one. But my second question, the numbers will probably change given your answer there, because it didn't take into account the additional funding that you've just stated. The project plan outlines that 40.82 million will be required in 25-26 and another 40.82 million in 26-27 with a further 20 million in 27-28. I understand the city was seeking a formal endorsement in June 2025 to proceed with most of the construction budget. I've not seen the endorsement from last month and I'm unsure if it was successful. However, either way, what specific financial approvals, partnerships or community consultations were planned ahead of that endorsement? And is there a risk that the delay of this endorsement may delay or jeopardise the delivery of the project with it scheduled to open in 2027?
Thank you.
Thank you. So the tender recommendation is intended to come to council at a special meeting to be held on 6th of August 2025, and that is for the part 2 of the package. You're aware part 1 has already been delivered, and that included just under $7 million of site works to facilitate the second stage. To remain within the tender validity period and be outside the local government caretaker provisions, the city needs to conclude the tender process before the end of August 2025.
Thank you. My third question is around contingency planning. Construction costs across WA have seen considerable inflation over the recent years. Given that this $120 million project is already substantial, does the current budget include any contingency plan to account for further construction cost escalations? If not, what assurance can be provided that the project won't require even more funding in future years, further stretching ratepayer dollars or denying other capital priorities?
Mr. CEO.
So we note this is a significant undertaking and it's a very important project, as we've already mentioned. As with all of our projects, they include an allocation for contingency. As you mentioned, the WA economy is undergoing significant price inflation at this time, and we've seen some of that come back to in the tender pricing. So how we present that to council as well as the options will form part of the recommendation of the 6th of August report. Please note this, that the subject to council adopting one of the preferred tender or a tender, there's a process we then go through with that to finalise the price, but that tender then has to lock the price in. So as you've already noticed, this is a 2-year construction project, so the tenderer has got to hold their price over the 2 years, and so they've made their own estimates of what they think the price inflation over that 2 years is going to be in order to present their tender price to council.
Thank you. My fourth question is around accountability and reporting. Given the scale and complexity of the Swan Active Ellenbrook project, how will the city ensure transparency and accountability as funds are drawn down year by year? Will there be public reporting of key milestones, budget performance and community engagement outcomes? And if so, how regularly will that occur? And where can ratepayers access that information?
Thank you.
Thank you. So you are aware that the city has a dedicated, I hope you're aware the city has a dedicated webpage for the project, which include details of the scope, design, the current status, and that webpage will continue to be updated as the project progresses. Upon adoption of the recommendation for the construction tender, the city will be issuing a press release, as it does with each of its funding partners, in this case the Commonwealth and state government. And we will continue to update those by way of milestones for future press releases. Over the 2-year construction project, you will see the city's webpage continue to be updated with photos of the current status of the project, which will include some aerial footage. You'll be able to keep a very close eye on how it's coming out of the ground. We'll be as excited in December 2027 to going down those water slides as you will be. I'm just not sure whether I'll be going down as fast as some of the children will.
Thank you for your answer. And my question 5, as I said above, it was around the rate increases potentially being linked to the budget gap, but you've addressed that in my question number 1, where you confirmed that the increases don't have any taking on that. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Heptonstall, for your questions. And now I'll ask again if there are any questions without due notice for items in the agenda only. Does anyone in the gallery have any questions? Nope. Okay, thank you very much. Just making sure there's no one registered or no one who hasn't registered would like to ask a question. So move to 5.3, other questions to items not contained in the agenda. 5.3.1, questions of which due notice has been given. We've received 5 questions from Ms Lois Gearing and Ms Janzek, and they have both been answered and will form part of the minutes. We'll move to 5.3.2, which is questions without due notice, and we have Mrs Cheryl Rogers, Mr Humphrey Bogart and Janzek registered to ask questions. Ms Rogers, if you'd like to come to the podium, and you're able to ask up to 5 questions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and councillors and staff for your attention today. My questions relate to SB 1731E, which is Amendment number 4 to the Dayton Local Structure Plan number 4, which is now out for public comment. And I'm seeking clarification in the public interest, really, because there's a lot of confusion about this in the community. To give you my background and why my interest is in this amendment, we farm at the interface between the rural and the new urban, and for the past several years we've been monitoring groundwater levels and noting that the groundwater is rising. This is not an unusual phenomenon where you've got rural land up against urban, particularly if the drainage structure isn't working well. So I requested to cite the drainage plan for Dayton Stage 4 in April and was refused. So in mid-May, I made a FOI, Freedom of Information request, I think it was about May 18, for the drainage plan. And on June the 12th or thereabouts, the amendment, this one I'm talking about, to Stage 4 popped up on Swan Engage. When I compared the approved and the proposed plans, I could see that there were significant differences to the drainage plan, and that, of course, ignited my interest. Staff have since told us that we are not to comment on the drainage plan, as that was already approved by City of Swan staff back in 2024. So my first question is, did City of Swan engineering staff or City of Swan planning staff approve the drainage plan for Dayton Stage 4 in 2024?
Thank you. Mr Russell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The drainage plan for the subdivision, being civil drainage plans, are reviewed and nominally approved by asset staff. Conditions attached to a subdivision approval and what we call the clearance process, whereby the local government affirms to the WA planning condition that the requirements of the conditions, including in relation to drainage plans, have been met, is delegated through a line from the council to the CEO, the executive director and myself, and commonly other senior staff. So in essence, ultimately, the final advice to the WA Planning Commission that works the responsibility of the local government under a subdivision condition have been cleared reside with planning.
Thank you for that. Question 2, why does public comment not include comment on drainage, particularly given the data now being measured, collected, documented and photographed as evidence of the enormous problems from rising groundwater as the urban rollout moves north along the western side of the Swan Valley and beyond?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Very simply, the reason why we indicated to the community that the structure plan amendment, the drainage is not to be, well, it's not that you can't comment on it, but the simple fact is the drainage is not a proposal. It is an approved set of works that have already been approved properly through the subdivision condition process. So it was my view that it's erroneous to have in the public domain a proposal that purports to say we are proposing to change the drainage in this manner when that has already been done. Now, the simple fact is that the combination of the documents in terms of the applicant's plan, which has updated the approved drainage and is out in the public domain, if you read that, you get a different understanding from the actual written request for information that is placed by the city on the website, which makes it clear that the those works have already been approved and are only in there for the sake of administrative completeness. But I accept that it is confusing to the community. I totally agree. And as indicated to a group of the residents, including Ms Rogers, only Monday, we have committed to modifying the documents on the website to make it plain that they are not subject of the proposed modification. The modification is to the land next door. The drainage that we're talking about is on land that's already been approved for subdivision and is not being modified. I accept the confusion, certainly from our part. We apologise to people that might have got, understandably, a misapprehension of the matter, and we've rectified it as of Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Russell. Meanwhile, we will continue to monitor the rise in groundwater. Earlier this week, several supporting documents in the amendment were removed from the Swan Engage site. Others were modified, and these include the amendment report that was originally 62 pages and dated May 13, 2025, now 16 pages and dated July. And what's today, the 9th of July. My hope is really that these questions will ignite sufficient interest in enough councillors to drive out and actually take a look at what's happening on the site. The problematic Harrow Street corner now has a blind spot thanks to a black ColourBond fence surrounding part of one of the new drainage basins. So my third question really is perhaps a rhetorical one for councillors to ask themselves. This appears to be 11th hour planning at its worst, and it's hard to reconcile this proposed amendment in the planning framework. Presumably, the public comment will be considered and staff will write a report to advise council either to recommend or reject the amendment to the WAPC or ask the WAPC to reconsider the design. The amended design appears to be so advanced as to be beyond stopping. The green papier-mâché dust-suppressing turf
Just ask whether you actually have a question,
I do.
please. Okay.
Has been sprayed on, and at least 2 blocks are listed as under offer on real estate sites. If council decide there are significant problems with the amendment that is already so advanced, what process do you have available to you to stop it? And that's the end of my question.
Mr Russell, if you're able to reply.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's not quite a rhetorical question. The very simple answer to that is that, as we've communicated to Ms Rogers and the others, before a clearance leaves the City of Swan on the subdivision in question, nominally issued or not issued by myself, what we're committed to is to make sure that the works that have been undertaken on this subdivision are in accordance with the approved urban water management plan that we have issued. And if they are not, or they require rectification, then assuredly they will not be obtaining a clearance from me through the city. So that is the check that is in place under the system of how things operate.
Thank you. Do you have a final question? That was and done. Thank you very much, Ms Rogers, for your questions.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I've got a question to Cheryl. If that's okay.
Is it staff?
Can I ask Cheryl a question?
Sorry.
Only after the meeting.
Yep. You had a question, sorry, for Ms Rogers?
Yeah, I just wanted to...
Sorry, I can't quite hear.
Sorry. Through you, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to ask if she was satisfied with that response.
I'll have to replay it
Okay.
to see whether it's actually answered my question. I think the problem goes on. It was a fairly long and thorough reply, but I will have to replay it and transcribe it.
Told it. Okay, thank you very much. Mr Bogart, if you'd like to come up, and you have up to 5 questions. Thank you.
My first question is, when I asked about the tree register at the last council meeting, the answer was basically that the City of Swan, or Swan, has enormous amounts of trees in natural areas, and therefore it wouldn't sort of be possible. And it was also indicated that the City of Swan have many, many trees. On the first part, using remote sensing in bush areas is a logical way to do. That's the only way of doing it. But on street trees, they must be seen as an asset, and it has to be individually surveyed. In 2020, the City of Stirling has 105,000 street trees with an average value of $4,300 and a maximum value of $255,000. A total of $57 million. That is nearly $500 million of assets. Wouldn't that be nice for a council to have. So my question is, what obligations does the City of Swan have, things it has in regards to $500 million of non-current assets?
Mr Southern or Mr CEO?
So thank you. So our financial statements, which you'll see a copy of if you go to the website tonight for next year, include both current and non-current assets. So we have a responsible for asset maintenance, particularly of the non-current assets. So you're looking at our drains, our roads, our footpaths, etc. We make a provision for the asset maintenance of those each year. You'll see that the city also publishes information on its asset sustainability, that is the amount of money it's reinvesting to maintain those assets at a workable or useful life.
You have a second question?
On June 11, in the council meeting, I asked a question about street trees. The minuted answer is, the city uses mapping program to monitor trees, which has essentially become a register. It would have been very helpful if the city indicates what type of monitoring or mapping program it is. If the mapping program is based on remote sensing, it can by definition not be a register. So my questions are, first, can the city explain what type of mapping program it is using? Second, what is the city monitoring? And third, why is that data not available on the Intermaps?
Let's ask Mr van der Linde if you might be able to respond, please.
Madam Mayor, I think I'll take the questions on notice. In terms of I just want to clarify the answer that was provided at the June meeting. I responded to the question in the context of trees. I missed the bit that you said street trees in that. So it is. So we've got mapping for trees across the whole of the city, which is LiDAR data based information that we get from Landgate. But we'll take it on note, the 3 questions on notice and respond to that during the week.
Okay. Did you have a third question?
Yep. Recently, tree canopy data has been in the news because the new methods proposed or installed by DPLH, which claim that all councils everywhere have an increased tree canopy. Looking at the values of established suburbs like Ellenbrook and Averley, the mean coverage along roads is 4% and the median is 1%. Now, let's say an assumption that the green space along roads is only 25%, then it only gets to 16%, which is well below the accepted target. Even the tree canopy of parklands in these suburbs, on average, is only 13%, and the median is 6%. Knowing those sort of percentages from an updated tree canopy data, what measures has the City of Swan put in place to get the 30% coverage by 2030?
I think I've asked Mr Southern if you're able to respond.
Through the chair, the city has a significant investment in its urban tree canopy and streetscape planting. The city also provides a free street tree to residents program, which we encourage the community to register for to get a street tree in front of their property to help improve the urban canopy.
Okay, my fourth question is, the City of Swan has its sustainable strategy adopted in 2022. However, in the city and in WA in general, road infrastructures are constructed in an unsustainable way, namely concrete and bitumen everywhere, which are products of very high greenhouse gases. So using that, then it would be impossible to basically to achieve the sustainable development goals. To meet those, the city has become a circular economy. A recent report, December 2024, mapping the circular economy of Western Australia, highlighted those major issues. And also it highlighted that all the environment ministers in Australia have committed to a certain circular economy. So my question is, what is the real progress the city is making in achieving the sustainable development goals? And second, is the City of Swan aiming to become a circular economy?
Mr CEO.
Thank you. So thank you, Mr Bogart. The issue around circular economy covers a number of matters. Firstly, the use and reuse of resources. So where we have projects like the application of road materials going into our project, when we come to end of life for the road, we are able to reuse those materials as best we can. So we're committed to those objectives where consumption of resources is balanced, and we end up measuring that by not looking resources going back at the end of life to landfill. We are committed, for instance, to your municipal solid waste not being used once, but do resource recovery through that, which is what we do through our recycling operations, our FOGO operation, and soon to be waste to energy operations to lead to the recovery of the energy as well as the materials. So the city remains committed. We measure the use of water, but we don't reuse the water after it's evaporated off. Obviously, it's a one-way use for us. So we have measures in place that record the resource use for those critical things that we acquire and use as part of our everyday operations. The circular economy more broadly, though, dealing with extended manufacturer liabilities. So when you go buy a paint tin, we have capacity to dispose of the paint tin. When you buy an electronic good, there's a capacity to take that good, recover it and recycle it. So the city's part of that, but the city doesn't have a direct responsibility for each of those extended producer responsible areas.
That's it.
Thank you very much. I'll ask Ms Janczek if you'd like to come to the podium, and you have up to 5 questions.
Thank you. My questions are regarding the Dayton LSP 4 Amendment 4 and the new documents that are advertised on the Swan Engage site. Question 1. Why doesn't the LSP 4 Amendment number 4, the proposed structure plan, reflect changes made by the amended plan of subdivision 23/01/007D dated the 9th of the 1st 24, which coincides with what has been and is currently being constructed, and we are told by staff has already been approved by the WAPC.
Mr van der Linde or Mr Russell, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Very simply, structure plan modifications relate to modifications to the information depicted at the structure plan level. It is not always the case, and neither does it have to be, that at subdivision stage the subdivision is exactly the same as depicted on the structure plan. Subdivisions are rightly and commonly at minor variance to what is often depicted in a structure plan. Structure plans generally depict what we call blobs and lines, land use areas or street blocks, major roads, areas of public open space and other utilities. They do not generally drill down to precise lot details and other arrangements. So the fact that what has occurred with the subdivision that we're talking about is that we have moved drainage into land that is the public utilities corridor on the structure plan. That can be done. That doesn't change the structure plan. So as I indicated in the answer to the question by Ms Rogers, it is accepted as being perhaps misleading and unnecessary to depict detail that is not inconsistent with the existing structure plan in a document that purports to say it's a change. So having said that that is not actually up for comment and is in fact an exercise in relation to the relocation of drainage that's already occurred through the subdivision process, we felt it proper, as I'd indicated, not to depict it as if it was up for comment, as if it was proposed. It is not proposed, it has been approved. So for those reasons, we've liaised with the applicant to modify the document so that what we're seeking comment on and what is actually proposed is the details in relation to the one lot in question and not the adjoining lot, which has already been subject to the subdivision approval.
Thank you. Do you have a second question?
I do. Why is the LSP 4 Amendment number 4 proposed structure plan superimposed on the LSP 4 Amendment number 3 approved structure plan when the construction on the ground to date clearly shows that LSP 4 Amendment number 4 the May version, which was advertised previously on Swan Engage, structure plan is being implemented?
Mr Russell?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I believe I've probably answered that. What we've endeavoured to depict in terms of the maps or documents is to show existing structure plan and proposed amendment. And what we've actually done in the little map that shows the proposed amendment is to only depict the nature of the amendment over the proponent's land and not to deal with any of the other surrounding land. So that's what we've endeavoured. So we've endeavoured to ensure that the map and the rest of the documentation clearly reflects what is being proposed, not what has been separately approved.
Thank you. The third question?
Yes. If the alteration of the residential density of two relatively small areas was sufficient to trigger an amendment to the Dayton LSP4 in 2018, resulting in amendment number 3, known as the approved structure plan, why hasn't an amendment been required for the significantly greater and more numerous alterations to the LSP4 which are currently being constructed?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I think I've answered that. They are not significant modifications, and in point of fact, they're not modifications to the structure plan at all. Because if they were modifications to the structure plan, we would not have approved them through the subdivision. So, going back to my first answer, it is not the intent nor the practical operation of subdivision to be 100% consistent in every last detail with a structure plan. A structure plan is a broad outline. The next level down at subdivision is a variation. As a point of fact, you will find that the subdivisions approved on the ground in terms of road layouts do not precisely match that depicted under the proposed structure plan. And for that reason, you're not looking at precise consistency, you're looking at generally consistent. And small variations or variations at the subdivision stage, noting that it is the WA Planning Commission that approves the subdivision, not the City of Swan. And the Commission may often have a view to say we think that is consistent with the structure plan and doesn't require modification and approves the subdivision, where we might think otherwise. But they have the power and it's commonly done that way. So you're not looking at everything being absolutely the mirror of what is depicted in a structure plan. Minor variations can and are approved at subdivision stage, and that's entirely consistent with the system.
Thank you. Fourth question?
Yes. With regards to the new drainage strategy constructed or in the process of being constructed within the Dayton LSP4 precinct, what is the contingency plan if drainage fails to prevent rising groundwater and flooding in the adjacent Swan Valley Act area properties and Bush Forever 200 site across the Harrow Street? And what are the triggers for initiating the contingency plan?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that is a matter to be determined. As I said, we have not yet issued clearances on the subdivision next door in question. We have an urban water management plan, but as I indicated in the earlier answer, I will be reviewing that closely before we determine that the clearance can be issued. So we've already indicated to Ms Rogers and Ms Zeck and others that we will review that and look at whether that document needs to have contingencies in the event that the drainage if the drainage hasn't been constructed as it's been approved, then that will have to happen before we issue a clearance. If it has been constructed as it's been approved, then the question becomes, what if it fails for some reason? Well, like everything, that is a matter that we would have to look at that point in time, but we're certainly capable of looking at some contingencies in terms of what implications might be, separate to the basic construction of the drainage.
Okay. And a fifth question?
Yes. Are monitoring boards AS18 and AS19 still being monitored? And if not, why not?
Thank you, Mr.
Take
Russell.
that question on notice, Madam Mayor.
No problem. Thank you very much, Ms Zeck, for those questions tonight and for coming in. Now, we have received some questions in writing, but at 6:14 from Mr Gavin Troy. There are 5 questions, but we will unfortunately have to take those on notice and provide you with those answers. Thank you. That brings us to the end of question time. Move to part 6, which is public statement time. Registration for public statement time at council meetings was required by 10 a.m. this morning on Wednesday the 9th of July 2025. And these are statements for general matters of the city and not for items on the agenda. And we have Ms Jan Zek registered. And Ms Zek, would you like to come to the podium, please? And you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. The City of Swan advertised Dayton LSP4 Amendment Number 4 in June 2025. Initial documents referred to as the May version generally covered the area bounded by Harrow Street, Blundell Street, Citrus Avenue and Malvern Street. It dealt with alterations to drainage, a reduction in public open space, an increase in density and quantity of lots, and a rearrangement of settlement layout. There was considerable community confusion because the drainage strategy had not only been changed but was already under construction, along with new and extended roads and the new layout, all of which appeared to be occurring prior to the amendment being approved. Community queries generated action by staff to withdraw the May version and to advertise the new July version, which appears to focus only on Lot 24 Harrow Street. Staff advised that the alterations to drainage and settlement layout would be removed from the advertised documents as these have already been approved as in a former amendment to subdivision plan and wrongfully included in the May version. The list of support documents for the amendment now available on Swan Engage has been significantly reduced and key explanation documents have been altered. Figures which accompany the Dayton LSP4 Amendment Number 4 May version, namely Figure 8 aerial photo, Figure 9 public open space and drainage, and Figure 10 road hierarchy, also appear in the same form in the July version, except Figure 9 is noted as Revision A and dated the 1st of the 7th, 25. This Revision A merely entails the change from green fill to yellow fill to basins B, C and D. All accompanying figures show drainage infrastructure and settlement layout currently under construction that does not appear in the LSP4 approved structure plan, i.e. Amendment Number 3, nor the proposed amendment plan in the July version. It would appear that there is still confusion, not only within the community, but also amongst the staff as to what is actually contained in the Dayton LSP4 Amendment Number 4. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great, that last bit. I'd like to just move to part 7 now. We have not had any petitions presented that need tabling at this meeting. And part 8, which is deputations. All deputations for items on the agenda were heard at the agenda forum held on the 2nd of July 2025. Thank you to those people in the gallery and safe trip home. Part 9 is announcements by the presiding member, and I have 2 announcements tonight. And the first one is, each year our Parks and Leisure Australia hosts awards, and they acknowledge the industry excellence and celebrate the outstanding initiatives and innovative efforts that our staff have made. And this year the City of Swan had nominations in several award categories representing the high quality skills and experience of our project management team, who delivered hundreds of projects for our community each year. And this is the award here, which is the PLA WA winner and the play space over 500,000 for the Ballajura Intergenerational Play Space. And the City of Swan accepted this at the Engineering Awards. So that was a really, really exciting award for us, and as you know, a huge project for Ballajura. The award, the Ballajura International Play Space, Wheat Park took out the top prize for the best play space over 500,000 category. And Kayla McNichol, who you might have met, is one of our senior project managers for major projects. She received the David Aldous Emerging Leader Award for her outstanding dedication to delivering significant projects for the City of Swan community. And both the winning project and Ms. McNichol will progress to the national awards, which will be held in Hobart later this year. So congratulations to Ms. Nichol. We also had the City had an honourable mention in the National Awards for Local Government for the City of Swan Graduate Engineer Program. And this is in the Workforce and Skills category. Now I'm going to hold that one up in a minute. You probably can't see it very well from here, but you're all welcome to come and have a look after. This is for the recognition and highlights our commitment to developing future engineers through a rewarding and structured pathway. And this saw our graduates rotate through key areas of the city's operation division We have a very extensive graduate program here at the City of Swan, probably one of the best in local government, if not the biggest. And graduates are supported through extensive career developments and opportunities such as mentorship, leadership opportunities, technical training, as well as support in training, chartered status with Engineers Australia through the Engineers Australia as well. And 3 of 4 operation division managers are former graduates, as well as 6 coordinators. And at last count, our former graduates have worked at 12 other local governments in WA and 1 in Queensland, and that's providing us a pipeline of talent for the industry. So we can be pretty proud that we have a fantastic program here that puts through some amazing graduates. So that's here if anyone wants to come and have a look at that award. And moving on to part 10, leave of absence. Are there any councillors or members requesting leave of absence? If there is, can you just fill out the form, please, and hand that up to the CEO? And we move to part 11, which is confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 11th of June 2025. 11.2, confirmation of minutes of the special meeting of council held on the 23rd of June 2025. May I please have a mover, Councillor Bowman, and a seconder, Councillor Miles? Is anyone against? It's carried. Thank you. Move to part 12, which is business left over from the previous meeting, and there was none. Part 13, which is adoption of those recommendations contained in items not withdrawn. For the benefit of the community members observing the meeting, the council uses an en bloc method of decision making. And this means that agenda items where council supports the officer recommendation are not debated separately. One vote is taken on all of the items, and the officer recommendation is therefore the decision of council. The following items have not been withdrawn for individual consideration, and they'll be dealt with via the en bloc vote. Therefore, the officer recommendation will be the decision of council. Those items are 14.1.4, which is confidentiality restrictions, EMRC decisions. 14.2.1, which is the Malaga Local Area Plan. 14.2.4, consideration of submissions, proposed amendment number 230 to Local Planning Scheme number 17 to rezone lot 600, number 499 Beecherburra Road North, North Beecherburra to general commercial. 14.4.1, the Midland Oval School Board. 14.4.2, this is the proposed permanent road closure to portion of lot 3001 Coast Road, West Swan. 14.5.1, financial management report for the period ending 31st of May 2025. 14.5.2, which is list of accounts paid May 2025. 14.5.3, which is the change in basis of valuation. We have 14.5.4, RFT 25JR20 SOR, which is the provision of tree maintenance services, separable parts. And item 16.3, which is the lease of Unit 143, the Crescent, Midland. May I please have a mover, Councillor Miles, and a seconder, Councillor Bowman. Is anyone against? It's carried. Thank you very much. This moves us to part 14, which is reports withdrawn for debate or absolute majority vote in accordance with the Meeting Procedures Local Law 2023, and will be dealt with by council individually. First item we have tonight is 14.1.1, which is the policy review, live streaming and recording of meetings. Proposed motion, Deputy Mayor Johnson. Now, I will need a council member, please, to foreshadow the officer's recommendation if this alternate motion does not pass. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My motion is that council resolve to adopt the revised policy POLC 166, live streaming and recording meetings as attached with the following changes. A, replace section 3.2c that states council members who wish to listen to recordings of the above meetings are required to attend the city's administration centre to listen to the recording, with the following text, which you can see in red. Council members who wish to listen to recordings of the above meetings may do so electronically at a location of their own choosing. The next section, which is also labelled A, I don't need because the staff tell me it's not necessary. So if we can delete that, please, Madam Mayor.
So that was part 5.
Yeah, it's the second part A, which reads, change the section of text 3.3b to read 7 years instead of 5. if we can just delete that because it's just not needed. Yeah, delete the whole lot. 2, authorise the CEO to make any formatting, nomenclature or other minor changes to the policy during its period of currency. Reason for the motion. 1, councillors who work full-time may find it inconvenient to visit the city administration buildings during business hours. 2, councillors have taken a declaration of office that includes the declaration to observe the Local Government Rules of Conduct Regulations 2007. The Code of Conduct includes Regulation 21, Disclosure Information, that states that a councillor must not disclose confidential information. There is no need for any additional control. Section 5.92 of the Local Government Act provides councillors with access to any information held by the local government, including electronic recordings. 4, access is not a defined term in the Local Government Act, and so the normal dictionary meaning is used. This includes electronic access. 5, the Act does not require councillors to attend the City Admin building to read confidential documents.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll ask you, I have a seconder. Councillor Howlett. I'll ask anyone to speak against.
I will,
wish
and
to
I'll
debate it?
foreshadow the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. I'll ask Deputy Mayor.
I think it's self-explanatory.
Thank you. I'll ask the seconder.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you.
I won't
Councillor
say anything either then.
I'll put that to the vote then. Those in favour of the motion? Oh, sorry, my apologies. Sorry. Was there anyone else who'd like to speak against the motion?
Briefly,
Yeah.
I think that we need to consider the bigger picture, and that is that if you export a file outside of the organisation, which is well embedded with firewalls and the like, you increase the chance of it being obtained or hacked through some other form. So keeping it entirely within the city structure from that perspective, I think is very important.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Would like to speak for the motion? Is there anyone who'd like to speak against the motion? No? Deputy Mayor, you're right to reply.
There's not much to add, really. I think the bigger picture is that councillors who work full-time and don't
Point
work
of order.
in the city
Just one
may
moment,
find it
Deputy Mayor.
inconvenient to visit.
Deputy Mayor, just one
Yeah.
moment, please. Councillor Bowman, what was your point of order?
7.1, relevance can only sum up in anything that's been speaking against, and the only thing was about firewalls and
I seem to recall the
Thank
word
you. Just a
bigger
moment,
picture
Deputy
was
Mayor.
used.
Deputy Mayor, just one moment, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I haven't-
I'm replying.
I haven't provided a ruling yet on the point of order. Thank you, Councillor Bowman. I'll uphold your point of order, Deputy Mayor.
Well, the bigger picture is that all confidential documents that we receive are exported outside the city firewalls. Councils receive them all the time on their iPads when they're looking at Docs on Tap. So there's nothing different about it. There's no reason why a voice recording could not also be put on Docs on Tap. I think that it's a reasonable thing in the interest of convenience for councillors, and it's also a matter of trust. I see Councillor Henderson spoke about firewalls. Well, firewalls are there to provide security, but security in this case is provided by a councillor's declaration of office. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll now put that to the vote. Those in favour? Councillor Catalano, Councillor Miles, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Howlett, and those against? Councillor Bowman, Councillor Jones, Councillor McCulloch, Councillor Zanino, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Prodovnik and myself. And the motion is lost. 4-7. Thank you, Councillor Bowman.
I'll move the officer's recommendation.
And seconded by Councillor Jones. Thank you. Was anyone against?
Can I ask if the mover would accept an amendment?
Councillor Bowman.
So
What's
the
the
amendment would be where the words "listen to" recordings is stated in two parts, that be replaced with the word "review"
Just wait till it's typed up.
That's in 1A, and then in the next part where it's red.
Councillor Bowman?
Madam Mayor, I do recall Councillor Henderson raised this at agenda briefing. If we could just have the response that was provided at agenda briefing just before I say yes or no.
Just give us a moment to find that. Oh, it's the CEO will, thank you.
Thank you. And noting that you're not only listening to the audio record, you're viewing the visual record. That seems appropriate.
Happy to incorporate that.
Thank you.
So, question. It says
Question?
review, not view. So there's a difference between review and view. My understanding is view means look at. Review implies that you're going to change it.
Mr. CEO?
To review something means you are reconsidering it. So it's open to mean that you are reviewing a matter, in which case you're considering all the information that's put to you. You can change it to view. It wouldn't make any difference at all in terms of the interpretation. But for the purpose of this, if you want to use view, which means then you're watching and listening to, that's fine.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I actually thought Councillor Henderson did say view. If it stays at review, I'm not happy, but I'm happy at view.
I did say review, but in light of what's just been discussed, I'm happy for that to be changed to view.
Thank you. Acceptable to the mover, thank you. And seconder? Okay. Anyone against?
That becomes substantial consequence with anybody wishes to speak again. I can't hear a word you're saying.
Which part of the policy are you referring to?
So it's where there was a reference to listen to, and those words changed to view. Yes, we have that.
Okay.
So Councillor Henderson had mentioned it. He said it was in 1A, but just getting it. It's 3.2, but
3.2C.
yeah, 3.27.
Okay. So we've just had some clarification, and that is 3.2C.
We're changing the word listen to view the recording.
Did you get that?
So did you pick up that, Kathy?
Okay. Happy with that?
Yep.
Okay. Right, so that becomes part of the substantive motion. Then vote on that.
Does anyone wish to speak?
Does anyone wish to speak against the substantive motion? We're going to do that next.
Speak for.
Anyone like to speak for? Anyone like to speak against? No? Thank you, Councillor Bowman. Your right of reply.
Nothing to reply, Madam Mayor, so I can't.
Thank you. We'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? So, Councillor Bowman. Councillor Bowman, Councillor Jones, Councillor McCulloch, Councillor Miles, Councillor Zanino, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Prodovnik and myself, and those against, Councillor Catalano, Councillor Deputy Mayor and Councillor Hallett. So it's carried. 8-3, thank you. Okay, councillors, we then move on to 14.1.2, which is policy review, access to legal services for elected members and employees, and the proposed motion by Councillor Brodovnik. I'll also need a council member to foreshadow the officer's recommendation if this alternate motion does not pass. Councillor Brodovnik.
Thank you. So the council resolved to 1, approve the proposed amendments to POLC 044 as outlined in the report to council, except for clause 4.4e, and 2, amend clause 4.4e to read, quote, where the CEO is the person seeking financial assistance, the application is to be determined by council. Reasons for the motion: 1, council shouldn't be told about this at an ordinary council meeting after the approval has been given and payment made. Council should have all the information provided in a confidential report before any decision is made. 2, this event will rarely happen, and if the matter is urgent, a special council meeting can be called for council to consider this matter.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Henderson. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the motion? Councillor Bowman. Councillor Brodovnik. Oh, sorry, do you wish to debate it as well? I'm sure you do. Councillor Brodovnik.
I ask council to support this motion just to make a small change to our policy to ensure greater transparency and council oversight when it comes to financial assistance involving the CEO. At the heart of this matter is the principle of good governance. We, as elected members, are entrusted with the responsibility of protecting the public interest, and we also need to keep a professional distance in our roles when ratepayers' money is involved. Even in rare and exceptional circumstances, the decision-making process should be subject to full council scrutiny, not made separately by a couple of council members and then brought to council after the fact. If the CEO is applying for financial help, council, not just two individuals, should have the opportunity to consider the matter through a confidential report. That's how we ensure accountability and fairness, not only in process but in perception. It's also worth noting that these circumstances will be rare, and the part of the policy is specifically connected to legal action, and the reality is that the legal processes move very slowly. A special council meeting can be called within 24 hours if this is needed. Ultimately, it's about protecting the integrity of our governance processes. It's a small but important step to protect the integrity of our processes and the trust placed in us by the community. Please support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Brodovnik. Would anyone like to speak against? Sorry, Councillor Henderson, seconder.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think that's been well covered. The only point I would make is that I think it's important to note that over time we see different mayors, different deputy mayors, different CEOs, structures change. This is not about them specifically, it's about overall governance, and that's why I support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. I'll ask, does anyone like to speak against the motion? Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'll foreshadow the officer's recommendation. Madam Mayor, policies come to us councillors to review, and when this policy came to us as councillors, there was no submissions put in, so I ask now why. Madam Mayor, ask yourself the question, we need to ask ourselves the question, what is the cost to hold a special council meeting? I expect it is quite considerate with the amount of staff I look here tonight and getting councillors here as well, Madam Mayor. And Madam Mayor, why? Why, when we have a policy that quite clearly articulates the requirements, that quite clearly says at E that it's to be determined by the Mayor and Deputy Mayor? And my reading, Madam Mayor, on that part of the policy, if the Mayor and Deputy Mayor cannot agree, then it would be required to come to council. Madam Mayor, Councillor Brodovnik talked about governance. Well, this is governance, and this is why the policy is there. Governance is giving us the opportunity to review that, which we were given, and Councillor Brodovnik chose not to, but now is asking for it. Madam Mayor, legal action, Councillor Brodovnik said, goes very slowly. Not always, Madam Mayor. And we can hold a special council meeting in 24 hours? Madam Mayor, not very often we have a special council meeting. But Madam Mayor, I do agree with one thing from Councillor Brodovnik. It's very rare. In my nearly 4 years on council, this has not come to council before. I do not believe it's been requested before as well. And Madam Mayor, I do not know why we need to change it when it quite clearly says now, not just you, Madam Mayor, but the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor. And the way I read that policy is if both the mayor and deputy mayor cannot agree, it would then be required to come to council.
Thank you, Councillor Bowman. Are there any councillors wishing to speak for the motion? Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, first of all, just to explain to Councillor Bowman, decisions on policy are not made through making submissions to staff. They are made in this council chamber. And if Councillor Brodovnik wishes to change a policy that's up for review in the council chamber, that is the correct and proper process. Next, special meetings. Councillors, we have special meetings all the time. In fact, we have so many special meetings. I think it's time that we reviewed the use of special meetings. There is no reason why we should not confine these agenda items to ordinary council meetings. Next, on the subject of special meetings, I don't even know why this is being debated because I don't recall, I don't see anything in Councillor Brodovnik's motion at all about special meetings. Am I missing something here? Is there any mention of, yeah, I do see in the reason. Yes, the council does say if the matter is urgent, a special council meeting can be called. But the motion does not say in the resolution that special meetings should be called. There's no reason why this could not come to an ordinary council meeting. Next is the matter of whether or not it's appropriate for the CEO to even be requesting financing for legal advice. The CEOs are well paid. If they need legal advice that is outside of the scope of their immediate role, there's no reason why they can't pay for it themselves and claim it against tax. I've had to do that when my requests for legal advice have been turned down. Councillors, the next point is I don't think it's appropriate for asking the mayor and the deputy mayor to make a decision in this matter. The main reason I would say is this: if it is going to be delegated to the mayor, it should be delegated to the mayor and not the mayor and the deputy mayor, because the deputy mayor does not have a role other than when the mayor is unavailable, unwilling or unable to act. So that's the law. And I also noticed in closing there's a typo in the officer comment, but I don't think that's going to make you spelled deputy mayor wrong. So I don't think, I think we should support Councillor Brodovnik's motion. There's no reason to vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll ask, does anyone like to speak against the motion? Does anyone like to speak for the motion? Last check. Anyone like to speak against the motion or for the motion? If not, Councillor Brodovnik, you're right to reply.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep this brief. I actually want to thank Councillor Johnson for responding so well to Councillor Bowman's points that I actually don't need to. I've outlined quite clearly why we need to change this for the proposed amendments, so please support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Brodovnik. I'll ask those in favour. Councillor Catalano, Councillor McCulloch, Councillor Miles, Councillor Zanino, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Brodovnik, Deputy Mayor Johnson and Councillor Howlett, and those against, Councillor Bowman, Councillor Jones and myself. The motion is carried. 8-3. We move to 14.1.3, which is the Native Fauna Management Policy. Proposed motion by Councillor Henderson. And I'll also need a council member to foreshadow the officer's recommendation if this alternate motion does not pass.
Councillors, I move that Council resolve to 1. Not adopt Policy LP 1.15, Native Fauna Management for public advertising pursuant to Schedule 2, Part 2, Clause 4.2, of the Planning Development Local Planning Schemes Regulations 2015, and 2, re-endorse the previous adopted local planning policy, POL LP 1.15, Kangaroo Management. And the reasons, 1, Local Planning Scheme Amendment number 199, which proposes to introduce provisions requiring native fauna management plans to be prepared to the satisfaction of the city on the advice of the Department of Biodiversity, Conservation and Attractions prior to the clearing of land, which may prohibit habitat for native fauna was refused by the Minister on the 2nd of August 2023, as was considered a duplication of the deemed provisions in Scheme 2, Part 4, Clause 16 of the Planning and Development Local Planning Schemes Regulations 2015, the regulations, which already makes provision for fauna management plans to be prepared at structure planning stage. And 2, given DBCA's legislative role in management and protection of native fauna across the state, including a licensing scheme under the Biodiversity Conservation Regulations 2018, Part 4, Clause 10, whereby the taking or relocation of native fauna is duly controlled, the progression of the draft revised policy of POLLP 1.15, native fauna management, will represent a duplication of existing functions of the DBCA, which will create unnecessary confusion for landowners and the development sector.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Zanino. Is there any councillors who wish to speak against the motion? Do you wish to debate it?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll ask Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, I think the reasons actually outline pretty much the whole of the issue. Fundamentals are simple. I'm sure DBCA would love us to do all the work for them. Let's face it, if they could have us do most of the work, they'd be pretty happy. The fact is that they have a responsibility under state law to manage those issues. And I think that's the key here, is that if we take on a responsibility which is a state responsibility, it's a duplication which we shouldn't be doing. Frankly, our staff and our resources are already stretched, and we can't, in my mind, we can't extend that any further by saying, okay, well, we'll do a whole lot of other work. Just remember one fundamental, and that is when I get a phone call from a very concerned resident, as I did back when Caversham Urban was being developed, about developers scooping up long-necked tortoises as an example, and putting them in the back of the truck and taking them away, as opposed to looking after the local fauna. I immediately get onto the council, and the council can chase DBCA. So there's an opportunity for councillors, if they receive such distressed calls, to deal with it. And I think that's the best way to do it. DBCA have the clout, they have the responsibility, and we should let them continue that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Zanino is the seconder.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Henderson has dealt with it adequately. I'd just like to add that the onus should be left with DBCA and the state government. We as a local council have enough, and we should not be taking it on board, because then all we're doing is we're using up ratepayers' money, where the state government has a budget to deal with these issues, and they should be held to account. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Zanino. I'll ask if anyone would like to speak against the motion. Councillor Catalano.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it all sounds very logical, doesn't it? Let's just pass the buck back to the state government. The thing is, but the results speak for themselves, and that is that we have seen animals bulldozed, and more than likely we'll continue to see animals bulldozed, because we're not going to take a proactive stance. And we know that this original, the intention of this policy review and the change in the policy was actually to try and have some improvement to the loss of fauna in particular, but basically talking about biodiversity. And, you know, don't kid yourself. I mean, we have lost fauna, we've lost biodiversity, and it looks like we're going to continue to do so if we keep passing the buck take on responsibility. It's not up for us to take on responsibility. Well, why isn't it up to us to take responsibility? That's what we're here for. We're here to make decisions and take on responsibility. That's what leadership's about. But yeah, pass the buck back to the state government. No, what we should be doing is we should be getting in before the bulldozer or the excavator piles those turtles on the back of the truck, or bulldoze over, a whole load of infill on top of these animals. We should get in beforehand and alert DBCA to the fact that they're there and that they are potentially there, and work with DBCA. That's what this intention of this was about. It's not about misusing ratepayers' funds. It's about using ratepayers' funds for the protection of our environment. Who in the community would object to that? I think you'll pretty much find that there will be nothing but support for that. And there is support for that because everybody wants protection for the environment. That's why we have, environmental protection. That's why we do have these agencies in the state government. And this City of Swan should be taking on a proactive role. So that's why I think we should actually go back to adopting this revised policy and not supporting this amendment tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Catalano. Are there any councillors wishing to speak for the motion? Are there any councillors wishing to speak against the motion? Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, look, I'll just begin by congratulating Councillor Catalano on an excellent speech, and mine will be very poor by comparison. It was former Councillor Dawn who identified the problem with our kangaroo management policy and wanted to convert it to a native fauna management policy. And the reason being, of course, that we know of her commitment to animal justice, and that's why she's now a member of the Legislative Council. She's known for her passion and commitment in this area, and you never heard me say the word passion in this room before. Councillors, we need this policy, we need this change to this policy, because we need to make it clear that this council believes that this council has a responsibility to ensure that our developers take native fauna management seriously during the construction process. During Councillor Dawn's campaign to get on council, the second campaign, she took me to a site in Dayton where a swamp was being bulldozed, and she could point out to me the long-necked turtles and various other fauna that were being presumably killed or pushed out of the area, and wanted to know, did we have any policy on it? I said, to the best of my knowledge, no, all we've got is the kangaroo management policy. And she said, well, we need to change that. We do need to change it. We do need to have this new policy. I know it's backed up and may be potentially duplicating responsibilities elsewhere, but we're the local authority on the ground. We're closest to this issue. We are our city is the organisation that controls the developments and supervises these developments as they're being built. We have the staff to deal with it. So I would say, councillors, we do need this policy, and I think we should be supporting it. And can I just ask a question?
No, this is the time for it. No, Deputy
Mayor.
So if you'd just like to finish.
Yeah, I'll just finish up at this point by saying, councillors, please support the native fauna management policy. And I've now just realised what's being suggested to me. I would like to foreshadow the officer's recommendation in the event this motion is not successful. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll ask, does anyone like to speak against the motion? Does anyone like to speak for the motion? No? You're right to reply.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, I just want to take the emotional aspect out of this, because the fact is that DBCA have the power and the legislative clout to be able to prosecute and do what has to be done. That's the key here. Now, I found it interesting that Councillor Catalano said that we're passing the buck to the state government. Councillors, this isn't about passing the buck. This is about making the state responsible to deal with the problem rather than having some flip and flop. Who's looking after this? Is it the DBCA or is it the council? We don't need that, particularly when we're talking about our fauna. We need clear action where we have a problem. Yes, we are on the ground. We are the ones that are on the ground. As soon as we get a problem, we get that sorted out. DBCA go and do something about it. And so, to be clear, it is not our responsibility. That's the key here. It's theirs. Just want to make also clear that when subdivisions are undertaken, quite clearly, we see it all the time, there are conditions set down for developers, and where those circumstances arise where we see situations where our fauna can be impacted, DBCA will make comment to us, and we will then see conditions of approvals, and I would hope that councillors ensure that they're incorporated in approvals when they go through this council. The thing is, we have got to have the ability to jump on developers when they do the wrong thing. That's the key here. The ability is through DBCA, and I think we need to be absolutely clear that we don't want to make it appear as though it's a who do we talk to today? Is it the council or the DBCA? It's got to be one clear path for us. There's got to be one clear path for the developers. So I urge councillors to progress this in a way that means that we have clear air and clear direction, and take the emotional aspect out of it to ensure that we do have good support and good abilities to ensure our native fauna are properly and adequately protected. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. I'll now put that to the vote. Those in favour? Councillor Zanino, Councillor Henderson, and I'll ask those against. Councillor Catalano, Councillor Bowman, Councillor Jones, Councillor McCulloch, Councillor Miles, Councillor Brodovnik, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Howlett and myself, and the motion is lost. Sorry, that was my hand up a bit clearer. 9-2. Councillor Johnson.
I'd like to move the officer's recommendation.
Can I have a seconder? Councillor Miles. Does anyone like to speak against the officer's recommendation? Do you wish to debate? Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Does anyone like to debate? No? Let's put that to the vote. Those in favour? Councillor Catalano, Councillor Bowman, Councillor Jones, Councillor McCulloch, Councillor Miles, Councillor Zanino, Councillor Brodovnik, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Howlett and myself, and those against, just Councillor Henderson. It's carried 10-1. Thank you. Okay, councillors, we move on to item 14.2.2. Now, this is the MRS amendment 1395/57, rationalisation of Midland Brick Land Holdings, proposed motion by Councillor Howlett. Again, I will need a council member to foreshadow the officer's recommendation if this alternate motion does not pass. Councillor Howlett, if you'd like to read out your alternate motion.
Thank you. Would you like me to read it all or just the added point?
The whole lot. No, you happy? Just the amendment? Okay. Happy with that?
Yes, I'm happy with that. So I am proposing to move the officer's recommendation with the addition of point 5, that is, recommend that as part of the future local planning scheme amendment and or structure planning processes, the section of degraded vegetation on the eastern side of the MRS area between the threatened ecological community and the good to excellent - very good vegetation, as shown in Figure 6 in the agenda report, be reserved as public open space to retain an appropriately connected ecological corridor linked to the existing vegetated public open space to the south towards Muriel Street. The reasons for the motion or the addition to that point: 6.2.1 of the Commonwealth approved conservation advice for Corymbia, Calophylla, Xanthorrhoea, Presi woodlands and shrublands of the Swan Coastal Plain says the highest priority is prevent further clearance, fragmentation or detrimental modification of remnants of the ecological community and of surrounding native vegetation, for example, through land use, zoning and during residential development. The advice also recommends retaining appropriate connectivity between remnants of all naturally occurring ecological communities in the area. And 2, the inclusion of the degraded vegetated area between the threatened ecological community and the good to excellent, very good vegetation, as shown in Figure 6 within a POS reservation, will not only retain an appropriately connected ecological connection to the existing vegetated public open space to the south towards Muriel Street, but will also provide an opportunity for the further rehabilitation, enhancement of the biodiversity values of the area for the benefit of the community in the long term.
Thank you very much, Councillor Howlett. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Henderson. I'll ask, is there any councillors who wish to speak against the motion? Nope. I'll put that as carried. Thank you. Quickest motion tonight. Now we move to 14.3.1, which is payment in lieu of parking plan for Guildford. Report on submissions. Proposed motion from the Deputy Mayor Johnson. I will need a council member to foreshadow the officer's recommendation if this alternate motion does not pass. Deputy Mayor, if you'd like to read out your motion, please.
Just to confirm, we're at 14.3.1, is that right? Yep. Okay. My motion is as per the officer's recommendation with another additional 0.5 on this occasion, just to request the CEO write to the WA Planning Commission requesting that the WAPC give due consideration to amending Schedule 2, Clause 77H4 of the Planning and Development Local Planning Schemes Regulations 2015, payment in lieu of parking condition for non-residential development to include the cost of land in the cash in lieu calculation. And the reason for the motion is that a cash in lieu payment calculation that does not include the cost of the land to create a parking bay creates an economic incentive for businesses to seek to use public land to provide parking that should be provided on the commercial premises that is subject to the development application that gives rise to the need for parking. Council should bring this to the attention of the WAPC.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Lastly, do I have a seconder? Councillor Howlett. Are there any councillors who wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Bowman, do you wish to debate it? Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, councillors, all we're doing here is requesting the CEO to write to the WA Planning Commission to make a change to their regulations. The reason being this, councillors, I did consider whether I should come up with an alternate motion that proposed adding the cost of land into the cost of a parking bay. But it seemed to me on consideration that the impact of that would be we would actually need to buy some land in a realistic location in Guildford to use for parking. And there isn't any. They aren't making any more land. And all the land in the centre of Guildford is basically taken up by heritage buildings. So there is no possibility of buying any land for parking. Nevertheless, we still need to create an economic incentive for people developing in the centre of Guildford, and by developing it's typically a change of use that requires more parking. We need to create an economic incentive for those people. If they need those businesses, if they need parking, to put the parking on their own property and not on the green grass verges or other parkland of Guildford. It's for that simple reason. So it wouldn't be appropriate to propose to buy some land in the centre of Guildford because there isn't any, but we still need to have the economic incentive to put the parking actually on your own property. So after thinking about this at some length and receiving an email from Mr. Van der Linde advising me that I could include the cost of land in the calculations so long as we were going to propose to buy some land, I still didn't think it was the right thing to do. So I think the right thing to do is to ask the state government to change Schedule 2 to enable a local government to include the cost of land in the cost of a parking bay so that it's economically equitable. It will cost the same to create the parking bay on the developer's land as it would cost to build it in an existing public open space. So that's the intention of my motion. It doesn't have anything. It's not doing anything other than writing a letter and suggesting making a change. So if I could ask you to support this, councillors, I think it will only lead to good things. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Howlett as the seconder.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask if anyone would like to speak against the motion. Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I don't disagree with anything that Councillor Johnson has just said. However, the problem I can't vote for this, and I can't vote for the officer's recommendation, is I can't support adopting the payment in lieu parking plan for Guildford. And these are the issues I raised in Ellenbrook as well. I totally agree with Councillor Johnson. There is a financial benefit for people not to provide the car parking, but we can't provide it ourselves. And in Ellenbrook, that money was going towards signage, better footpaths, but it wasn't actually being used to create more parking bays. Madam Mayor, when businesses can, or an applicant can, significantly reduce the amount of parking bays in an area where parking is required and has a financial benefit of handing over cash, there is something wrong. So, Madam Mayor, totally agree with everything Councillor Johnson has said, but I don't think, and I should have fought harder at the Ellenbrook one, that the payment in lieu of parking plan for Guildford or for anyone that comes in front of me in future, where we're not providing extra parking but simply providing shade, signage, those types of things, is not addressing the problem.
Thank you, Councillor Bowman. Is there any councillors like to speak for the motion? Are there any councillors who'd like to speak against the motion? Your right of reply.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, Councillor Bowman, thank you for agreeing with everything I said. I wish you could do that in future, every time I speak. Look, councillors, the fact that Councillor Bowman is agreeing with what I'm saying is indicating to you that I might actually be making some sense for once. Similar situation is arising in Ellenbrook. Similar situation is arising in Ellenbrook. So, councillors, what my motion does, it tries to provide a long-term solution to this problem of developers being incentivised to use public land for their parking instead of using their own land. It's as simple as that. It doesn't cost the city anything except the cost of a stamp, and I guess we don't even use stamps anymore. All we're doing is writing to the WA Planning Commission and suggesting they make a change in the law to encourage developers to put their parking on their own land. Please, councillors, do vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll now put that to the vote. Those in favour? Councillor Catalano, Councillor Miles, Councillor Zanino, Councillor Brodovnik, Deputy Mayor Johnson and Councillor Howlett. And those against? Councillor Bowman, Councillor Jones, Councillor McCulloch, Councillor Henderson and myself. Motion is carried. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 5. Thank you. Very good. Now, councillors, we move to item 15.1. This is motions of which previous notice have been given. Councillor Hallett has indicated that she wishes to withdraw her notice of motion. 15.1, Councillor Howlett, clarification on the qualification to retain membership of council. Thank you.
That's correct. I won't be moving this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move to item 15.2, Deputy Mayor Johnson, citizenship ceremonies in the Midland Town Hall. Notice of motion from Deputy Mayor Johnson. If you'd like to please read out your motion.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. My motion is that Council resolve to request the CEO report on the actions and costs to return the citizenship ceremonies to the Midland Town Hall. The reason for the motion is that 1, citizenship ceremonies since they've been held at Mandoon are not well attended by councillors. 2, civic ceremonies such as citizenship ceremonies should be held in the Midland Town Hall and not in a commercial building. 3, the Town Hall is a heritage building which the city is maintaining at ratepayers' expense and the city should make effective use of this asset. 4, citizenship ceremonies are more impressive and dignified when held in the Midland Town Hall. 5, citizenship ceremonies have been held for many years in the Midland Town Hall without any problems.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Howlett. Is anyone against? Do you wish to debate it? Thank you, Councillor Bowman. Deputy Mayor.
Look, councillors, since we moved the citizenship ceremonies to Mandoon, there's a few. The major observation I've had is that we get very, very few councillors attending. Maybe we need to get some cough medicine for the staff. Citizenship ceremonies are not well attended. As the MC, I'm looking at the empty row of seats as it approaches 6 o'clock, and I'm wondering whether there are going to be any special guests. When we held these ceremonies in the town hall, we did generally have a lot of special guests, and I do recall nearly 10 years ago when I was first elected, you'd end up with 20 special guests. So now there are very few. I also don't feel that the location is quite as dignified. Despite what it says in the report, I do feel that having been in both buildings on many occasions, that Mandoon is much smaller. I actually think that the town hall is quite a bit bigger, and we could easily accommodate the number of people that we do in Mandoon. Mandoon is very cramped and small. It's quite clumsy walking around, and I noticed when the mayor and I are swapping positions on the stage, I've now taken to getting off the other side of the stage so I don't trip the mayor up coming the other way. I think you would agree it's quite complex.
No, I'm sorry, I don't agree.
Well, I do. I have to get off the other side of the stage, and there isn't a set of steps there. So it's not particularly well organised, I don't think. Councillors, I'm sure some councillors can say, isn't this going to cost us a lot of money? Well, councillors, I'm calculating it will cost more money. It'll cost an extra $109,000 a year. But councillors, prior to hosting the ceremonies in Mandoon, we were presumably paying that additional cost. So I don't see any reason why we can't put that in the budget. I'm sure we can do a budget adjustment and find room for $109,000. Councillors, I don't know how much money we've spent on the town hall, and I may ask a question later about that. But recently, as you're aware, we're currently refurbishing the town hall. I suspect several $100,000 are being spent on it to bring it back up to scratch. I think we need to use it. It's a case of use it or lose it. Some councillors have been around for a long time. I know two councillors here can recall the time when the town hall was nearly demolished. I think it's only the fact that we were until recently making good use of it, that it has continued to be something we can be proud of, and it's going to stay there.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll ask Councillor Howlett as the seconder.
I just would like to voice that I support holding civic functions in civic buildings and not in private businesses. The Midland Town Hall is iconic. It is the home for us council chambers, and as such, I think it would be a good service to return the very important ceremonies of citizenship that have taken place here back here. It just adds that air of importance to the ceremony.
Thank you, Councillor Haller. Are there any councillors who wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, we received information, I believe, from staff that the additional cost was going to be over $250,000. That's $250,000, Madam Mayor. $250,000 extra costs to provide citizenship ceremonies. Madam Mayor, we must ask ourselves the question, where's that money going to come from? But let's look at the reasons for the motions, Madam Mayor. They're not well attended. Well, Madam Mayor, when I first got on council, there was 2 councillors that used to go to the citizenship. One is my ward councillor, Councillor Jones. She used to sing, then she'd get up, then she'd go back down and sing, and it was the presiding person. And for quite some time, they were the only 2. Then I came along, had some fun, and that was because we were at one of the quick, easy process ones. That was at Baskerville Hall, where we did 2 or 3, and then continued to go to a number of those as well. Madam Mayor, this is not about where it should be held. This is about the cost. The cost on reducing the expenditure to our community, not increasing the cost, because rates would have to go up even more. Madam Mayor, it's more of a nice area. Well, Madam Mayor, I remember the meeting, the citizenship ceremony where I was nearly passing out because of the heat in the hall. Madam Mayor, I remember the citizenship ceremony in the hall where I was freezing and people actually left. Madam Mayor, I remember the citizenship ceremony when everyone was waiting outside in the pouring rain to get process to come in. And Madam Mayor, when you look at the citizenship ceremonies, and I look at this report, I am very concerned with an officer's comment, Madam Mayor, about liquor licensing. Please, can someone assure me that we're not going to be bringing liquor to a citizenship ceremony? Because I know at Mandoon it is available. I know that some people partake in that before and after. And I have some concerns with having liquor available at citizenship ceremonies, wherever it's held, because some of the people that come to the ceremonies, it's an issue for them. So, Madam Mayor, when I look at this and request a report, this is more work for our staff to do on something that we've been told is going to cost an extra $250,000 because a councillor wants to use the town hall more often. Well, Madam Mayor, if you want to save costs, have the express 3 in a row, no frills at the town hall and limit the amount of citizenships at Mandoon to 1 a month. That saves costs, gets more in the town hall as well, and I see that as a double positive. But Madam Mayor, we don't need a report for that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bowman. That's your 3 minutes. I'll ask anyone like to speak for the motion. Does anyone like to speak against the motion? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Councillor Bowman mentioned, I have only missed 6 citizenship ceremonies in the 16 years I've been on council, so I'm speaking from experience. For many years, probably 8 years, councillors have started to dwindle coming to the citizenship ceremonies. It's not only since we were at Mandoon. As for the special guests attending, we do have special guests attend. However, that's only around election time, and that's all I'll say.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. I'll ask anyone to speak for the motion. Does anyone like to speak against the motion? Councillor Catalano.
I can't support this motion because citizenship ceremonies, it's not about the Midland Town Hall. They should be conducted in the city's buildings throughout the city of Swan. And in particular, they should be held in Ellenbrook, in the civic centres or the civic spaces in Ellenbrook, as well as in the growth corridor, because that's where a lot of the new citizens reside. Now, I object when people stand up and say things about other councillors when it's blatantly not true. The fact is, I've been to plenty of citizenship ceremonies. I've been to citizenship ceremonies here, and I've been to citizenship ceremonies in Dayton. And I can even remember the time when you, Councillor Bowman, had your Ugg boot on because you had a sore foot and you're walking around. So, I mean, that's just blatantly not true. And I think that sort of straw man argument needs to stop. Yes, I don't support going down to any commercial space to conduct citizenship ceremonies, and I don't want to go, and I won't go for that very reason. We need to use our buildings as a matter of civic pride. We need to be proud of the assets we've got, and we need to use them. Now, costs isn't an issue. It is about our civic standing, and by basically outsourcing this to some, basically, it is at the end of the day, a very isolated spot. It's not central to anywhere. You've got to drive there. It's not where anybody lives. And it's just a completely uninviting space. So I would support this motion if it was citizenship ceremonies in City of Swan civic spaces, and in particular in places like Ellenbrook because of its large population, but also in the growth corridor as well as Midland Town Hall. So I can't support it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Catalano. I'll ask if there are any councillors who'd like to speak for the motion. Are there any councillors who'd like to speak against the motion? Councillor Henderson.
Thank you. Actually, in regard to Ellenbrook, I do wonder why people think that Midland is the centre of the universe. It certainly is not. I'll leave that there because there are lots of other places we could do these things. Not necessarily in council buildings. This isn't about something special about a town hall or a city building somewhere. This is about having a citizenship ceremony about which people are inducted into being members of Australia. Now, we can do that anywhere. We can do it on a lawn. We could do it any place. Now, I just want to touch on one aspect here. It really grinds me when I hear people stand up in this council and say, we must not increase our rates by anything at all. We must have no rate increases. Yet I then hear we can blow another pile of money, whether it's 100 or 200 or 300, whatever the number is, on something like this. Now, we are responsible for how much money we spend. It's not about it being so special that it's the town hall or wherever. It's the fact of the matter is that we have a responsibility, a strong responsibility to spend money wisely. And what staff are doing, they've found a very good location. You can park there. There's lots of parking. Very open. If you want to have the full access to the entire room, you can open up the divider, or you can just have half of it. Mandoon just happens to be one of those fantastic places. Now, think about, I think Councillor Catalano said something about you'd have to drive there. Well, let me get this right. If you live in Ellenbrook and you've got to come here, I guess you've got to drive. But it's going to be the same question for anyone around the city of Swan. It's a big place. Oh, catch a train. I mean, 2 trains, one down to Bayswater and one all the way back to Midland. I think the bus has been knocked off because they want to encourage a train. But sorry, I digress, so I'll get called up on a point of order. Councillors, can we get down to the basics here? We need to provide these services. We need to do them at the most cost-effective way, the most efficient way, and I believe what we're doing is working. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Would anyone like to speak for the motion? Would anyone like to speak against the motion? No. Deputy Mayor, you're right of reply.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I must admit, I've never heard so many weak arguments against a motion in my life. There should be some minimum criteria for actually responding, but I will do my best, Madam Mayor. The one that stands out to me here is the town hall is either too hot or too cold. Well, Councillor Bowman, the whole of Australia is either too hot or too cold. It's not just the town hall that's got that problem. $250,000. My calculation is pretty simple. 120 people, 12 citizenship ceremonies a month. That's 1,440 conferees a year at Mandoon. You divide that by 70, which is the supposed capacity of the town hall, you get 20 meetings. That boils down to a total cost of, I've got it here, got confused with my math, $218,000. And the cost of, so that's the cost of the meetings in the town hall. The cost of the meetings at Mandoon is 109. So the difference is, I believe, about the same as that. It's about $108,000.
Point of order, 7.2.
Just one moment, Councillor Bowman, if you could resume your seat, please, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Bowman, what was your point of order?
7.21F, presentation of false or misleading information. Staff have provided us a figure. That additional figure was $250,000 or thereabouts.
Thank you, Councillor Bowman.
I thought Councillor
Hold your
Bowman
point of order.
was going to say that my arithmetic was wrong, but I thought he was following on with his calculator. Councillors, getting back to the hot cold issue, we fixed the aircon in the town hall. Liquor licensing has never been a problem in the town hall in the past, and it's certainly not a problem at Mandoon. At Mandoon, I actually offer to buy people drinks, and I tell you, it doesn't cost me very much. Councillors, the issue has arisen as to locations. Well, I think that the town hall has been traditionally the location for civic ceremonies. That's why it was built. I do not think we should be holding our ceremonies exclusively in one particular winery. I don't think that's appropriate. I think the town hall is the place to hold these ceremonies. We can comfortably afford it. There are many ways we can cut the rates, as I have explained when I've provided an alternate budget. Councillors, we're spending all this money on the town hall. We should actually make use of it for the ceremonies for which it was built. So I'd encourage you to vote for this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I now put that to the vote. Those in favour? Deputy Mayor and Councillor Howlett. Those against? Councillor Catalano, Councillor Bowman, Councillor Jones, Councillor McCulloch, Councillor Miles, Councillor Zanino, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Brodovnik and myself. Motion is lost. Is lost 2-9. Thank you very much. Councillors, it's now 10-8. We need to move a motion for those watching at home to go behind closed doors to discuss the two confidential items, which are 16.1, which is appointment of presiding and deputy presiding members of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee, which is an absolute majority required, and the second item is 16.2, the extension to the material commencement date of Lot 4 Junction Parade Midland. And I'll just ask for a motion to go behind closed doors. We had Councillor Bowman and seconded by Councillor Miles. Is anyone against? No, that's carried, and we will return as soon as possible. And we've just come back up from behind closed doors, and council went behind closed doors to discuss 16.1 and the resolutions for the appointment of presiding and deputy presiding members of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. Absolute majority was required, and the recommendation was that council resolve to 1, appoint the candidate A as the presiding member of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee from the 1st of October 2025 to the 30th of September 2027. 2, to appoint candidate B as an observer from the 1st of August and deputy presiding member of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee from the 30th of September 2025 to 30th of September 2027. And point 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to offer candidate C the position of deputy presiding member should either of the recommended candidates not be able to accept the appointment, and it was carried 8-3. And the second item was 16.2, extension to the material commencement date for Lot 4 Junction Parade Midland, withdrawn for debate by Councillor Catalano. The recommendation was that Council resolve 1, approve the request for extension to the material commencement date applicable to Lot 201, Number 3, Junction Parade Midland, the latest date material commencement for Stage 2 for 12 months from 14th of October 2025 to the 13th of October 2026, as per clause 33.3D of the Sale and Development Agreement. Point 2 was to inform the proponent of Council's decision. 3, request that city solicitors to draft and prepare the formal notice to the buyer granting approval, and that was carried 8-3. My apologies, it was 6-5. Thank you. Now, councillors, that brings us towards the end of tonight's ordinary council meeting, and I'd just like to make a small announcement. I'd just like to acknowledge that this is Matt Southern's last meeting, and one of our executives, and I want to wish him well on behalf of council for his new position and appointment at the City of Armidale as Director of Operations. And I'd just like to say congratulations, Matt. You have been with us for a very, very long time. I think you said earlier from almost your starting career, and so this is going to be a major milestone and a really great opportunity for you, and experience for Matt. So again, congratulations, and yeah, wish him a really big clap as he's leaving. So thank you. And that brings us to the commencement, the end of tonight's meeting, and I close this meeting at 8:13 p.m. Thank you.